What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright, so we're moving on to the next day, and we have some Forestcraft reveals. I hear there's talk of a new Elephant coming out that's going to shake up the meta a little bit. I'm very interested to see what Forestcraft is going to have for set 4. Are we going to have like a new line? Is Beauty and the Beast going to get replaced? I'm not sure. So let's go ahead and figure out what cards came out in Forestcraft. Also, one more thing before I forget, if anyone noticed, I put an extra Y in the last thumbnail for the last video. I'm so sorry that I did that. I don't know what happened while I was doing editing. I might have just put in an extra Y instead of an S, but someone caught me and told me, hey, you know, that's not how you spell abyss. I was like, well, you know, I'm human, so I'm gonna cash in my human token. I'm gonna apologize. So let's go ahead and figure out what these cards do. Alright, so the first card we have is Beetle Warrior. For 3, he comes into play. His Fanfare combo 3. You gain +1/+1 and Storm. So it looks like Combo Forest is going to be getting some more toys to play with, especially with, you know, Rhino Roach being a thing where if you, depending on how many combos you've done, he gains Storm. And now you have Beetle Warrior, another card that gains +1/+1 and Storm if it's on combo 3. So that's pretty interesting. And the next card we have is Cassiopeia. So we have our legendary. So she's a 5 cost. When she comes into play, choose any number of enemy followers, distribute X damage among them. X is the total number of cards in your hand and in your EX area. Well, it's about dang time that Forestcraft got their board wiped. I know we had Smart Falcon before, but you really had to use specific Uma cards just to have on the field just to put them back, and you would really only be doing like 2 damage to everything, which is pretty lame. Now you have Cassiopeia, and now we have a way to just have a bunch of cards in our hand and then, you know, play down Cassiopeia, and then you can just distribute as much damage as you want across the board, depending on how many cards are in your hand and in your EX area. Alrighty, next up we have Deepwood Anomaly, and for 7 you can evolve him for 1, and when this card attack deals damage to an enemy leader, you win the game. I absolutely love cards like this. It's because you work so hard to get rid of your opponent's board, you're gassing your opponent out, and you know, sometimes they just sit at 20 for a long time and you can't just do damage because you're too busy dealing with their board. Well, there's a card right here that says, hey, I finally dropped this. If you don't have a way to remove this, you lose. And that is such a position I love to be in as someone using the cards. And if it's being used against me, I mean, they worked hard to just gas me out, so you deserve the win. Alright, now let's look at the Evo for Deepwood Anomaly. So when this card attack deals damage to enemy leader, you still win the game, but when you evolve, you choose the enemy follower and put it at the bottom of the deck. A pretty solid Evo. It's just something to go ahead and get rid of your opponent's card. They potentially might put down a ward before, you know, if you're both being gassed out and you're just top decking, the both of you, and they don't run into like a spell or anything to just go ahead and remove it. If they draw into like a ward or something, they're gonna be like, all right, well, I'm gonna try my best to have a ward up so you just can't win off this card. Well, with this Evo, you can go ahead and get rid of that problem. Alright, next we have Dolorblade Demon. So for 4, Fanfare and Last Word, you deal 1 damage to all enemy leaders and all enemy followers. It's a pretty cute card. It's a 4 cost and, you know, it has stats for 4 and 4. And then when it comes into play, you deal 1 damage, and then when it dies, you deal 1 damage. Not too bad. Alright, and next up we have Dryad. So she's a 2 cost with absolutely beautiful art. So strike, so when she swings, you choose an enemy follower and give it -1 attack. It's a pretty cute card. The fact that it just go ahead and gives something -1 attack, so those quick bladers are going to be useless. And then if you're going up against aggro, you won't be taking up as much damage because you'll be subtracting 1 damage from them. So this card might potentially survive. Moving on, we have Elf Song. So for 2, it's a spell. You put a fairy on the field, and then combo 3, you give all your elf followers +1/+1. We finally have some support for fairy token spam that's not that bad. So Fairy Whisper was one of the really good cards to potentially get out a whole bunch of fairies, and the other one that just fills up the board with fairies. Well, now we have a card that literally gives those elf followers that are spamming those fairies out +1/+1, so we can finally get a stat buff for those spawners. Alright, and we have Fashionista Nekla. So for 2, you can activate to engage this card, and then combo 3, you can choose one of the following. You can 1, choose another allied follower and give it +2/+2, or 2, choose an enemy follower and give it -2/-2. So by looking at this card already, this is basically just some Oracle Pascal with extra steps. You just have to make sure you're on combo 3 when you activate to engage that card to go ahead and give either a follower on your side +2/+2, or on the enemy side -2/-2. Alright, next we have Fida the Gentle Elf. For 2 with absolutely beautiful art, you can just evolve her for 1. And then we have the Evo for Fida Gentle Elf, still looking beautiful as always. So you evolve her and you can add 1 to your leader's health and then draw a card. I really love the card art for this and I love its ability and everything, but I do not know how practical this card is. It's the fact that you have to spend the play points for the Fida Gentle Elf and then you have to evolve her and you only added 1 to your leader's defense. Now if you added 2, I feel like this would be more of a worth play, but you only add 1 to your leader's health and then you draw a card. Seems a little lackluster, but if there's a way to really get this to start combo going, I feel like this might be worth. But you know, I mean, there's an amulet that does this for 1. Alright, and we have Ivy Spellbomb, and for 3, she's a spell card. You can choose an enemy follower and deal 5 damage to it. And then combo 3, then deal 3 damage to its leader. Alright, so it looks like in set 4 they're going to be doing a lot of comboing, that being Forestcraft and whatnot, but that feels like traditional Forestcraft, and I like that. Alright, so we have King Elephant, and for 6, you can evolve him for 4, and he has Storm. But when he comes into play, you can choose any number of cards on your field and return them to your hand. This gets +X+X. X is the number of cards in your hand. Okay, so let's talk about it. We have King Elephant, that's really a good boss monster that has Storm. Now, is he going to replace Beauty and the Beast? I'm not sure, because nothing really beats a follower that has Storm and Aura. But the fact that King Elephant can put everything back into your hand, he can be absolutely huge when he comes out. And then, you know, if you're rocking White Wolf to go ahead and play him for free, and then you put everything back in your hand, and then you could potentially Silverbolt after that. Seems like a pretty good combo of cards. So let's go ahead and figure out what the evolve of this card does, so we can see if evolving him might be even better. Alright, looking at the King Elephant Evo, so he still has Storm, but this card can attack while ignoring ward. So that's absolutely amazing, because if your opponent wards up when they see this card, or if they have a ward and set up something to be like, hey, you can't get through me, I have 4 wards on the field. Well, King Elephant comes out on the field, and then if you evo him, he can swing through that. And then his evo ability is, this gets +X+X, X is the number of cards in your hand. Alright, so this is absolutely insane. So we have King Elephant, you play him for 6, and let's go ahead and use an example of 7, you have 7 cards in your hand. So he turns into an 8/8. But when you evolve him, you can go ahead and give him that same buff that you gave him the first time, again through the Evo. So he turns into an 8/8 the first time, and then he turns into a 15/15 with Storm that can swing over wards. This card is absolutely insane. Alright, now the real question is this card going to be meta shaking? I believe it's going to be, because of the card that can just swing for 15 in 1 turn and does not care if there's any ward on the field is absolutely good. But that does bring into question, now that we have a form of Forestcraft that's going to have like an open card like this that can just be very weak to any sort of hard removal, you know, you set up everything. But the fact is, if King Elephant gets to that 15/15, you still have 7 cards in your hand, so it's not like you're out of the game. So I feel like this is going to be very good for Forestcraft. King Elephant seems like a very, very solid card, and I can't wait for people to be playing this. Alright, moving on into Spring Green Protection. So for 1, it's an amulet. So when this card leaves the field, you put a Fairy Wisp in your EX area, and then you can activate for 1 play point to engage this card and put it into the graveyard. You choose one of your elf followers and it gets +1/+0. And then combo 1, then it gets +0/+1. So I see a whole bunch of elf followers are getting some love this set, and that's exactly what I needed. I've always wanted to build an elf deck, but unfortunately, you know, it has to be shared with Fairy Wisp and everything like that, which isn't too bad, but it's just not very strong. But with these buffs, I hope, you know, the Fairy Spam deck goes up like maybe a tier or something, but so far it's still looking a little lackluster. Alright, moving on, we have Starry Elf. So for 3, when she comes into play, you search your deck for an amulet and put it into your hand. So we finally have a way to search out Tithiana's Sanctuary through an elf card, and that's pretty nice. And either other amulets if you're going to rock them in any other Forestcraft deck, which will be very interesting. But I'm ready to see what it's going to be like with all this support with this fairy token spam stuff, because you can really make this stuff work. And the fact that it's an elf, along with other things, you can get a buff with the other amulets that you're using that we saw earlier on. Alright, so we have Sakuna Brave and Small, and for 1, she's a 1/1 and you can evolve her for 1. So let's go ahead and figure out what she does on Evo. Alright, so we have the Sakuna evolve, and she gains Storm, and then on evolve, if you have combo 3, she gets +1/+1. If you have combo 5, this card gets +3/+3 instead. Alright, so we have the Rhino Roach replacement. I think this is definitely a better contender than that. Yes, Rhino Roach can probably get to higher amounts of combo, but this card gets the defense of the combo 5 with the +3/+3, and I feel like it's a very good substitution because she's a 1 cost, and I think Rhino Roach costs 2. So the fact that she costs 1 and you can evolve her for 1, it's just hand in hand with combo. So this is definitely the Rhino Roach replacement. Alright, and here are all the alternate art cards, and they're in the form of Cassiopeia and Spring Green Protection, both as C2, and they absolutely look amazing. Alright, let me know down in the description below if you guys want me to post the SPs as well. I'll definitely do that if I can. You just gotta let me know, guys, if you want that. Well, alright guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. You don't know how much it means to me that you're still watching and you're still here. I love you so much. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I gave you all my love, baby, my heart is cold when you're around. You warm it up, liquid gold, baby, yeah, you warm it up, liquid gold, baby, and my affection, all that paper you wasted. Take my love.